Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
Are UFOs real or fake? I don't know. Sometimes I think they're real, sometimes I think they're fake. But I want to talk to other people and see what they think. I know I'm not the only crazy one out there, so let's get started. Yeah, I was going to tell you, you remember the COVID-19 relief bill from last year? Mm-hmm. Did you know that they had put a 180 day to share what the U.S. intelligence knows about UFOs? They have that in there.
No, I did not know that.
It's in the bill. Mm-hmm. They gave the U.S. intelligence 180 days to share what they know, and what is it called, to make it because a lot of things they release, it's usually redacted, where they'll give you a paper and it tells you all this information, but they black out most of the stuff. Mm-hmm. And they say, well, we gave you what they had, we just can't tell you what's under the blacked out part because it's whatever, confidential or whatever. But now they have that on the bill where they have 180 days to release the information they have without it being redacted. And that's what a lot of people were like. I mean, I didn't even know about it until like a week after people started talking about it, like the UFO people. And this can't be real. But then when like mainstream media was covering it and they were talking about it too, I was like, oh shit, it's actually in there? I was like, it's going to be interesting.
I wonder why they choose to do that, because it seems like it's very important information, but I wonder why now in 2020 or 2021 it's become more of a important thing to release or to give information about, because what has changed now than it did 10 years ago? Because if this information has existed for who knows how long, why is it more important now than it was before?
Well, I think right now, I don't know. I mean, you're not that into UFOs like I am or whatever. I'm not crazy into it, but the past year, since 2019, they've been releasing a lot of information. Like the Pentagon released information they had, and they've released videos of pilots chasing UFOs, and they've interviewed them, and they've declassified a lot of information that happened like in 2004 and like 2012. And it's just been released lately, so a lot of people have been more interested in it. Like if you go and just Google Pentagon UFO, you're gonna see all that information they've released in the past few years, where you're like, okay, now I understand why it's being more talked about.
I did see recently, because I know on one of your questions was related to like aliens. So when you ask people, are aliens a real, or what's, in your opinion, what is UFOs versus aliens? Like what do you mean by that? Like what are the differences? Are there differences or are they similar?
Well, the way I see it, when they see, this is what I think, a UFO, you see something flying in the air. Some people believe it's like a drone, or maybe there's somebody or something in it, you know. So when I say UFOs, it can be whatever you believe in. It's either they're flying, they're being controlled from somewhere else, or they're actually something in there flying them. So whenever I say, would you believe UFOs or aliens have been here? I think, I don't know if aliens, or whatever you want to, because most people, when they think of aliens, what do they think about? The little green alien with the head, and that's the way we think of them. But if you think about it, an alien or another whatever, it can be anything. Did you ever see the movie The Arrival?
Yeah, no, I don't think I have.
Well, the way they did it is where it was like giant octopus looking creature.
Oh yes, yeah, I have seen that movie. I'm sorry, I've seen that.
So they're like, it could literally be, and it could be just a big cloud of smoke or something, or something. We just put a human element to it that we make them think they're gonna look like us, when more than likely they're not gonna look anything like us.
Interesting.
So I don't think that, honestly, if they've been here, I don't think we would even know. But like the thing about the UFOs flying around is that when you have pilots that are in the like military or whatever you want to call them, and they're saying that they don't know what they are, and these are supposed to be protecting us. You know, pilots that do this for a living. You've been doing this for years, and then they don't know what it is, and they've never seen anything like it. And then that's when I'm just like, okay, these guys know what the hell they're talking about. If they don't know what it is, uh, I don't know what. I mean, that's what I follow. But if like I see a guy on the street, and they're like, well, oh man, I saw a UFO, and I'm just like, it could have been a million things, you know, especially in the city. My friend showed me he told me that this guy took a picture of a UFO over Dallas not too long ago,
Hmm.
and I'm just like, does he have the picture? And I'm like, yeah, yeah. And he showed me, and dude, you can barely see a little dot. And he's like, it was flying all over the city. I'm just like, more than likely, there's some guy on top of a building flying a drone.
Hmm.
Especially if there was something actually that big that you think nobody else would have seen it in the middle of Dallas.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
you would had a million people report it. And then the thing that I find interesting that lately a lot of people, I don't know, I mean I talk about it at work or whatever and to other people, but before I would have to bring it up to them, but now they come in as soon as somebody reports it, like they'll come and tell me, "Hey, did you hear about
Hmm.
this? Did you hear about the American Airlines pilot? He saw a
Hmm.
UFO fly over the
Hmm.
airplane." And I'm just like, "No, when did this happen?" Like, "Oh, today." And then the other day somebody brought up that I know you're not a sports guy in like football, like the Baker Mayfield. He's a quarterback.
Hmm.
He apparently saw one in Austin, and they were making a big deal about it, and I didn't hear anything about it until like somebody brought it up to my attention. And I'm just like, they think I'm like hardcore looking into this stuff,
Hmm.
but they when they bring it up to me, I'm just like, that's cool, but I mean, like, what do you think it is? I'm just like, I'm not a fucking expert. I just
Hmm.
I just think it's an interesting subject.
Yeah, I think I think the whole topic is really interesting, but it gets to be kind of hard whenever you're trying to figure out who knows or who's the expert and who because there's no I mean there's no way to verify all this stuff unless it's like you really look at it from like official releases like the thing you just mentioned, the whole American Airlines thing. It was like I think it was two instances recently that I was surprised that it's getting like more traction by media and bigger outlets. I was really kind of interested by that, and I just thought it was cool. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's great. But see, the thing is, I think for me, it doesn't really shock me. Like when I see it pop up, like the question, the idea of if aliens are real. I'm like, yeah, in my opinion, they're very real. I don't know if aliens, in whatever form they are, they could because you just mentioned Arrival, it was in this weird form. They don't have to they don't even have to have a physical form. Possibly, maybe they're just like invisible too. So I mean, the possibilities are endless. So but I don't think. Uh, I don't know. I mean, I know they're real because if you really think about the amount of things that are in the universe, my mind can't even fathom how big the universe is. And when we think what's big, we think that going to Europe is such a big thing. When in reality, that's nothing compared to like if we were like, oh, we're going to plan a trip to Mars. It's going to take us 8 months or 6 months to get there, versus us taking a trip that'll take us a couple hours to go across the ocean. I think majority of people in their minds they can't comprehend space, and I'm not talking about outer space. I'm talking about distance. I'm talking about the time it takes to get to one place to another and the distance between those two things. Because honestly, the majority of people in the world have probably never traveled more than their village, their city, their town. Majority have never been around the world. No, majority of people in the world haven't flown 24 hours straight because they just don't have the means to, or they've never done so. To ask people like that, hey, do you think aliens are real? They're probably like, nah, I've never seen it, so it probably won't happen. Like, but then you follow up, you ask another question. Okay, but you realize how big the universe is. It's like, oh no, because in somewhere in some corner, I'm pretty sure there's intelligent life. It's stupid to think that we're literally the only intelligent life
So let me. So
in
I
the
mean,
universe.
I think we both agree like there is something out there, but the
Hmm.
thing that we're not 100% sure about if it's been here or not.
Oh, okay. Well, in my opinion, if they've been here or not, I mean, there's strong evidence to say they have. But I mean,
But
I
is there
think
evidence
I mean, there's strong evidence that people
that suggests they might have
that
been here?
suggest it. because there's a lot of conjecture. There's like, for example, people have stories of abductions. People have connections. People try to make really strong connections to like ancient societies, and there's like a big debate on if ancient aliens came here and helped the past civilizations. You know, you can make that argument back and forth, but at the end of the day, is if you're just on the side that yes, the pyramids were made by aliens, it's kind of discredits the intelligence of humans at that time, and it kind of takes away their agency. It takes away their there's the civilization. It's kind of like saying, well, the Aztecs were smart, but they couldn't have done it without help. And, well, you know what? I think they probably could do it by themselves. It just probably took them a long time because of the fact that it was a momentous task. But then there's other arguments that say like the one thing that I would go back to is like why is it that the pyramid of Mexico, the pyramid of the sun, is the same base width as the pyramid of Giza in Egypt when they were separated by time and space meaning like the distance, and time they were around in different time periods themselves. That I mean, unless there is some evidence that people don't want to release, like they were in conversation with each other, like Egypt for some reason, or Aztecs had the way that they were sailing across the waters and they were communicating, and they're hiding that because there is some evidence where uh, I think it's Japanese, or I forgot what it was, but there is evidence that people traveled across the Pacific Ocean.
I think it was China.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, they supposedly found maps of before they had like China had like old maps where they actually mapped out the world before anybody else.
And see, there you go. So that's I think that would be really interesting to figure out. But when it comes to like putting together all these dots, it's tough because some countries don't want to release sensitive information, or some countries want to release information that just makes everything a lot more like muddier. For example, if like China started releasing all this stuff, like yes, the Chinese have sailed across the world way before the Western world did, and but it's just propaganda. And you're like, okay, do I believe China? Like, who do I believe? Because you know the big thing is that Magellan sailed across the world, and all these Europeans sailed around the world. So there's kind of like this Eurocentric point of view of who really commanded the seas at one point. And
Yeah,
yeah,
but people think that the Europeans or whatever were the first ones to do all that, but there's
mhm.
people doing it years and years before them. Like the Vikings were over here
Yeah,
before them, the
yep.
Chinese were here before them, and I'm sure. I mean, I'm not an expert or anything, but I'm sure there's other uh, people that did it before the Europeans.
And I'm pretty sure you're right. And that's the thing. That's what adds more complexity to the argument of if aliens and past civilizations. I think the better question sometimes is to ask is like if aliens are real or not, and maybe instead of saying they're real because I mean they exist, they do exist. Maybe, but have they come to the world? I mean, have they come to the Earth? Maybe, maybe not. But let's look at the evidence of how these ancient civilizations were able to do everything, and maybe they were in conversation with themselves, but we're too blind to see the connections that they were actually communicating to themselves. They were, like you said, like the Chinese were sailing around the world, and what if they were meeting other civilizations, other people that are arriving at their shores, but we're interpreting these um these past records accidentally. Like for example, the idea of the arrival of Quetzalcoatl, the return of the white haired man, and that's the legend. That's why Hernan Cortez, when he arrived in Mexico, people were like, "Hey, come on in." What if before that it was actually another civilization, like maybe the Vikings? I'm not saying the Viking was, but another civilization from another world that arrived in Mexico, and they were light skinned. So when people they were waiting for them to come again,
Hmm.
but they made a mistake and they let the wrong person in. But in reality, they were waiting for a person from Asia, another person that was light skinned. And because it's interesting, because if you're gonna make the argument that aliens are real, like, well, if you're putting that on the table, then almost every possibility is open because I don't know. if we've really figured out how to read every hieroglyphic and every every glyph on the wall that existed, because honestly there's just so much to consume that I don't think we have really figured it out just yet. And so just making the argument that aliens did everything in the past is kind of like to discredit the intelligence of the past.
I mean, honestly, the way I see it, if they did come in the past, I think they didn't actually do it. Like, I mean, like, let's say the aliens in the pyramids or whatever.
Hmm.
Let's say aliens came down. I'm sure the aliens didn't do all that. I'm sure they gave them like a nudge. Hey, oh, if you
Hmm.
do this, you might be able to do this better. So it's kind of like maybe they influenced the people in the past,
I can see that.
but not like do it for them. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. No, I can see that.
And I mean,
I can see that.
I was gonna ask you also, like, back then. I mean, it was a different time. Like, if you're like in the Aztec or whatever, and you see something flying out of the sky, you're gonna think, what, there's the gods or whatever, you know.
Hmm.
Like now, in this time, like right now, like 2021, what do you think would happen? Like, if somebody said, if they see, and there's a video I saw a while back ago where is these people looking at something in the sky, and they was coming down. It was like bright lights, and I think it turned out to be like a transformer had exploded,
Hmm.
and then it threw what are sparks, what do you call them, and then the sparks were coming down, but it was a big explosion. And then these people were looking at it, and they're recording it, and they're like, it's aliens, you know. And then like, oh my god, they were all freaking out because they didn't know what it was. And then the first thing that they were saying is like, somebody needs to go over there and shoot them and kill them. And I was just like, that's exactly what I picture people would react. Like, they
Hmm.
see something they don't understand, and the first thing they're gonna want to do is destroy it, you know. And if let's say aliens or whatever you want to call them arrive today, the majority of the population, I think it's influenced by what they're being scared or their
Hmm.
religion, you know.
Hmm.
So
I think.
I think it'd be like a complete chaos, and I don't think people would understand that if they finally arrive, if they whatever they want to call them, that means they've been around forever.
Hmm.
It means like if they had bad intentions, it would have already happened.
Yeah.
I'm sure if somebody has the ability to travel millions and millions of miles, light years, whatever you want to call it, they're more than likely explorers or something. I don't know. I just see like the human, man. All we ever do is kill each other, and then anything we don't understand, we try to kill it. It's sad, man, but that's who we are. And if they, I think that's part of, if there's actually something going on and they're hiding it. I think I'm sure that plays part into it. Where like people don't know how to react.
Hmm. Well, it's like I don't know if you knew this. I'm pretty sure you heard about this, and it makes it falls into your point. A couple months ago, I just pulled it up right now in December. This is from the Jerusalem Post. There was a former Israeli security chief, Haim Ashed, had revealed that aliens from a galactic federation have been in contact with the U.S. and Israel for years, but humanity isn't ready to know this, or so he claims. But see, that goes exactly to what you said. Is that we're so concerned on, and I don't want to sound like very heady or just uh, a person that is transcended, but man, like you said, humanity, if we don't know it, we want to kill it. And we're over here fighting about our skin color,
Yep.
or if some people or people's private parts. We're arguing about who can go in a bathroom. And are we really ready to think about so many more important things like the environment and things of this planet, not of where you can go to the bathroom. People used to go to the bathroom outside, for goodness sakes, and then we're arguing about so many like little things that we're not worried about as us as a species. Almost, we're not worried about our survival. We're not worried about, because I mean, think about it. If the environment is going to shit, that doesn't mean it's going to shit just for one person. It's going for everything that's living on this planet, not just plants, bacteria, everything. It's not just, oh, Joe Blow down the street that doesn't have air conditioning. It's just like we found out a couple weeks ago with this climate event that we had in Texas that we haven't never had before. This blizzard and extreme cold weather. We can't even keep the lights on. We can't even keep the lights on for people, and people passed away just because they were cold. That's how like ill prepared and ill managed we are. Of course. So yeah, I really do think that we're really not ready for. When I say we, I mean us as a society, because I mean obviously people are ready and people could handle that, but as a society,
I think
what
the
we are,
majority of people can't, but some
yeah,
people.
and yeah, and so people would be, I don't, I don't know, man, I don't know. It's just
Well, speaking
it's
about the whole snow thing, and it just kind of
mm,
plays. It kind of tells you what you were saying about how people aren't ready, or they're
mhm.
like there's whenever it snowed here in Texas and it froze over, there's a lot of people on and I see these on I think it was TikTok or whatever, and then they were going, and I thought it was just one person saying that the snow that was falling on Texas was fake. Like,
Oh, I heard
and
about that.
the fact that you heard about it but now like no, it's just this person has to be crazy, but then you follow. There's so many people,
Mm,
and then they like would put fire to it, and I'm just like, I'm not an expert on any of that chemistry about whatever snow or water, but I'm like, I bet you if I Google this, what's happening, there's an explanation for it. And as soon as I clicked on it, there is an explanation. Apparently, if when it's something's really cold and you heat it up really fast, it skips the water phase and evaporates immediately. It's called something, and I googled it. It took me 5 minutes to Google it, dude, and I was just like, these. It seems like we evolved to like we. I guess I don't know if you believe it. Some people don't, but we
mm,
evolved from monkeys, apes, all that, and we got to a certain point like we're on top of the world, and it seems lately it's like we're devolving, like we're getting dumber, dude. And it's
mm,
it's I don't know. And let's be honest, social media has plays a big part in that,
mhm.
and I think it's helped people. I mean, I'm not smart or anything, but I'm just gonna say it. It's helped dumb people get out their dumb ideas, and then other dumb people are, I guess, they just stick with them. They get groups, it just takes bad ideas and puts them out in the world, and it's bad, man. It's
I think that you say it perfectly, and that I really can't add anything to that because it's it's really well said. The only thing I can think of is um, in when I was attending university, and I will always remember this because I thought like, what? I was like, whoa, she's right. And there was like one of those light bulb moments. I'm like, oh shit, this is actually something that I hope everybody's paying attention to because and it was being talked about by a professor, and she worked for the KGB at one point. Well, she didn't work for the KGB, but she worked in Russia during during the communist rule, USSR. So it was in the 80s. Her name is Dr. Vilikanova, and I was in her class, and it was about European Revolution. So we talked a lot about the French Revolution and how there was a lot of people that were killed, indiscriminately just because their ideas. And there was a guy called Maximilian Robespierre, and he's the one that was uh, really vicious about using the guillotine, cutting people's heads off. So, but what she was trying to make a point of that is that after that, the French Revolution, the idea of freedom, like not freedom of thought, but freedom of speech, democracy was born from that. And she was like, democracy is great and freedom of speech is great, but it is a double-edged sword. And before that, I always thought like, man, freedom of speech is best. This is, you can say anything, you can be yourself. But this is the first time in my life where I had heard somebody talk bad about it or put it not bad about it, but give me a different point of view. She literally said that that freedom of speech is a double-edged sword because yes, it's great. It allows people to speak. It allows people to disseminate information, but it also allows what you just said, bad ideas to get also be spread about and to get worse and worse and worse. So that's how you get one thing to become really bad because it just spreads and keeps spreading. So just as it is good, it is bad. So I think the idea of social media, I think it just like it was a catalyst and it was a really big moment in I guess I don't know, I want to say human evolution, but in the technological evolution that we really don't know how to handle still. Even to this day, people are just believing anything because it's on the internet. And the idea of critical thinking, questioning things doesn't really I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but it's not really something that people do all the time. Like for example, if you click something on Facebook, do you think it's, I'm not saying you, but I'm saying in general, when somebody clicks something on Facebook, Twitter, or whatever social media, do people automatically think, hey, this is real because it's here? Or like, oh, this is interesting. I need to go take some time to go research it or fact check it with a couple other resources. But see, the thing is, I think with Facebook, I think more so with Facebook, because Facebook loves to show you, and YouTube does too, things to keep you hooked. Like for example, if I clicked on something, a conspiracy theory or something on Facebook, suddenly I'm starting to get a bunch of ads for to more ads or a post that reinforce this little thought that I had for a second. So if I start to see it over and over and over again pop up in my feed, well, it has to be real. I keep seeing it. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Honestly, you can call it whatever you want, but the fact is that a lot of people don't understand that you're being fed things to kind of reinforce this little thought that you had for a second while you were sitting on the toilet. Then suddenly, for months and months, you start seeing all these things. So in your mind, in some people's minds, like, hey, it has to be real. I keep seeing it, and it's the only thing that I'm being shown. So I mean, it has to be real. They don't really sit there and question it and say, you know what, I should fact check this. I should crack open a book or crack open something else. Because, well, I want to ask you real quick. Do you think the people that use Facebook and, like you said, social media right now, do you think majority of them actually use the internet? Like, use the internet. I'm not talking about social media. Do they go outside social media? Do they go to different sites? Do they Google things on Wikipedia? Do they? I'm just saying Wikipedia because it's the easiest thing. Do you think the people that learn things from Facebook, do you think that they take the time to research? Like, and when I say research, I mean like really research, like read other things.
I think from what I've seen, the people that post crazy stuff on Facebook, it's usually uh, I won't say retweet, but it's a
Mm-hmm.
repost from another Facebook post.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they just stay on Facebook and they follow the same people that believe what they believe, and they just repost the same nonsense. So they don't go outside of Facebook to actually read and see if what they're saying is true. They just see, oh, 1,000 people like this, it must be true, or they
Mm-hmm.
say, oh, this other guy, he has a 500 followers or whatever. He says it's true, it must be true, and they repost it without doing any research. And that's what Facebook is though. They people just post nonsense without doing any research, and
Mm-hmm.
if it follows the trend or whatever they're thinking or their cause, they post it, even if it's not true. As long as it shows what they believe or whatever, it's true to them. And that's the worst thing about it, is that people post stuff just because it follows their agenda, you know.
Yeah.
Like if I don't know, man. It's just Facebook is the worst place. I thought Twitter's pretty bad too,
Yeah.
but I think Twitter. I mean, I don't like saying things 'cause it makes me. I don't want people to think like I'm thinking like I'm super smart. I think Twitter is more like dumb people that think they're really smart,
Mm-hmm.
and then Facebook is just dumb people that are just dumb.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. And
Yeah, I mean, I know you keep saying I don't think I'm very smart, but I don't think saying that I don't think saying that is really something that you should say anymore, because I think if you are able to critically think and you're able to see between all these things, you definitely contain an intelligence that helps you see through these things. Because, and I'm not saying, hey, and I have to say like, oh, we're better than anybody. It's not that. It's just that if you just really sit there and like think about it and really question it, and I'm not saying question it in the way where like, well, I'm right, they're wrong. No, it's
just
just
do
like,
research. Just do
yeah,
research.
yeah, definitely have more than one source. Like, there's no if you're reading a book, and let's say it's a book about American history or whatever, just whatever book you're reading, a scientific journal. There, the end of the article, end of the journal, at the end, it should have sources, right? Like, things that they use to prove what they were arguing. At the end of the article, it says, I I am right and everybody else is wrong. Are you really going to believe this person? Are you Because that's basically what these Facebook's posts are, is that where are the sources? Where is there independent was there a person that read your paper, fact checked you, and then got back with you with some feedback?
Hmm.
It's like believing anybody on the street. Hey man, the world is so and so. Okay, why do you think that? Because I said so. Um Okay, I guess. But see, the thing is, that's the difference. The difference is like seeing the person in person versus like online, like you just mentioned. Well, they have to be right. There's like 1,000 likes. Okay, what does this? What does that equate to? Like, what does that mean? Why is it that these little sums mean much more than you seeing in person when they carry the same weight? Honestly, because what is 1,000? What does that mean? Like does that 1,000 truths, 1,000 people that just thought it was interesting, some bots that were just clicking it to just click,
Well,
and
social media, you don't need sources. It's
if,
whatever. If you get 1,000 likes,
mhm,
that means that's your
mhm.
sources. All these people agree with me. I'm correct. You're wrong. Do you have a
It,
thousand people saying you like your post? No. Okay, then you're wrong. And I'm just like that. That's not really. That's what people. I think that's how people see it. But let's be honest, that's not what it means.
yeah, it brings me back to the your original point about aliens and extraterrestrials or UFOs, whatever you want to define them. I think that not social media, but like the idea of information behind if they're real or not, it can get kind of muddy because you don't know what people know about this subject. But it's really interesting because honestly, talking about aliens and talking about extraterrestrials is less toxic and less of a threat to humanity than it is some of the stuff that exists in social media. For example, if we're talking about extraterrestrials, it's something that honestly it won't affect the race. I mean, it won't affect people. Like they won't take it as a call to arms. People are not going to go try to try to wage a war against another country. But it's an interesting topic, and I think it's to one of your points too that you asked earlier. I think it's a really interesting subject because I think as scary as it might be, that we figure out that hey, aliens have arrived and our world will change forever. But talking about it in this moment before it hasn't happened, it doesn't really change our day to day lives. Whereas talking about conspiracies in about our government or vaccines or whatever's happening in the United States right now, that's really dangerous. That's really dangerous. Like that stuff can cost lives like today, tomorrow, and for the future. But us talking about if aliens are real, I think it's more of a interesting subject, and honestly, it could teach you to be a critical thinker because there's so much information about aliens from different parts of the country and different parts of the world that you can, as they say, they can put them into conversation. You start comparing information. You start comparing like different sources. Like that, I thought it was interesting that recently I watched Unsolved Mysteries, and Unsolved Mysteries had on Netflix. It's the new series.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not new series, it's just a new season of a really old series. They had like the abductions of some people, and I thought it was really interesting. I thought it was really interesting that it was told kind of through a horror suspense lens instead of like sci-fi, because as you mentioned earlier, Arrival was kind of a sci-fi movie, and it was interesting. But hearing these people's accounts and their recollections is that they were abducted, this whole town saw it, and it all happened. I thought it was interesting because it's a shared collective. It's a shared narrative. There's different points of views. Some people they didn't really want to believe it at that time, but it's only as time goes on, like holy crap, you saw it too, and it kind of starts to put together these pieces of piece of a puzzle. And I thought it was really interesting how people saw it, but people experienced something different.
Yeah, but just the fact that nowadays we can talk about aliens and if there's been aliens here, and it's not as and it doesn't make you seem as crazy as when you talk about like QAnon craziness, like
Yeah,
oh Donald Trump's gonna take over the world or something. It seems less crazy to talk about aliens and them visiting than some of these other crazy things people talk about, which is pretty fascinating. That I'll seem less crazy if I talk about aliens that if I start talking about conspiracies that you hear on the internet, dude. It's it's pretty interesting.
so maybe what we found out in this conversation is maybe we're more ready for aliens than we are for anything else, honestly.
Yeah, the fact that they'll talk about this UFO stuff on the news, even though let's talk about the news is not all that credible, but they'll mention it before they ever mention all these crazy conspiracies about QAnon or whatever. So it just shows you like, I guess okay, you can say it's more credible to talk about UFOs visiting than it is this nonsense. But like another thing that I thought that was kind of interesting to me, which kind of also sad to me, was did you see the other day? I think it was NASA posted a video of the rover in Mars
Mm-hmm.
and had video and audio.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see it?
No, I heard about it. I think I saw stills, but I didn't see the
I saw
video.
the video of them playing it, and then it's literally the video of Mars and then sound, and I'm just like, and I was showing people, and I was like, it blew my mind, dude, because I was like, this is another planet. We have video and sound of the planet, and I was just like, this is amazing. And I was showing people, and they're like, yeah, that's cool. They weren't excited, and I was just like, how are you not excited that another planet, not another country, you have video and audio of it, of this is, and you think it's not that cool, and I'm just like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life, dude. Like, I don't, maybe I'm overreacting, but
No,
you're more worried about who the fucking Cowboys have of a quarterback, and
yeah,
I'm like, this is another planet. You're
yeah,
seeing the world. I don't know, man. It blew my mind,
yeah.
and the fact that people weren't excited about it, or some people were like, "Oh, it's fake. It's somewhere in Nevada or something." I'm
Oh
just
my
like,
gosh.
there's literally nothing can be real nowadays. If you show something, somebody's gonna say it's fake. Somebody's gonna say it's photoshopped or whatever, and it's sad because that keeps people from uh, just I don't know, man. Just having a better open mind about stuff. It's so bad. But like,
I think you make a really good point because I wasn't even thinking about it. I'm probably part of the people that I did care, but honestly, it didn't make that big of an impact until you say right now because I keep thinking about. I've actually I've thought about all the movies that they've made. Let's think about this. All the movies they've made about lunar landing and humans going to outer space in the 1960s, and the Americans being the first ones there. They've made so many movies about that, so many movies, so many articles. But this, I mean, it was big, but I completely agree. I don't think people understand like the importance of this moment. We just had a moment like they did in the 1960s with people arriving at the moon, but we're arriving on another planet. Like literally, we have footage and everything about us arriving at Mars,
and
and,
I'm
and
talking
I think
about
that's amazing.
great footage, not grainy, not black and white, and
Yeah,
not just
man.
that. You have audio. And
Yeah.
I watched that video, dude. I was so fascinated. I'm like, just imagine if you all in the back you see an alien run across or something.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, or no, but it's just aliens are not on there. It's just
It's
it's,
fascinating, man. It's
it is.
crazy. The fact that when would you? I mean, think about it. 100 years ago, not even 100 years ago. So let's say 50 years ago,
Mhm.
20 years ago, 25 years ago, you would never imagine getting that kind of video.
No,
I mean,
and it's
25 years ago, when was that? 2000 and I mean, not even like
yeah,
1990 something.
yeah,
Come on, man. We barely had cell phones.
yeah,
It's just
and
insane that it's just people are so used to things like that that nothing amazes them, nothing
mhm,
surprises them. But what bothers me is they'll hear something stupid on Facebook and then they'll get shocked by it.
yeah,
When stuff that you should actually be surprised by doesn't affect you or change the way you see the world, but something dumb like, oh, Donald Trump did something or somebody else is, I don't know. It's just, I don't know, man. I think space in general is so interesting. And then if there's actually been aliens here or visited aliens here, or the government's telling you there's stuff flying in our skies that we don't know what it is, we can't catch them, we don't know where they came from, and people are like, who cares? I'm like, they're literally telling you there's something that they have no control over, the government, the military, and people aren't surprised about it. I'm just like, yeah, I don't even know, dude.
I think that's the thing. I think that it points to an idea that like you said right now, the government is literally telling people, "Hey, this stuff we don't know what this is. We don't know if it's another country. We don't know if it's other
No. It's
people."
not, they already said it's not another country. There's
Okay,
no
but
way. You think about it. If I think I forgot who said it. I think it was a senator or something. They talked about this, and they're like, you know what? I think the majority of people in the government would rather it be aliens, because if it wasn't aliens, that means this other country has technology so advanced that they would be like 100 years ahead of the United States. They would literally be taking over the world if they
Hmm.
had the ability to do what these things were doing in the sky. That's what they were saying. It's like it's impossible for another country to have this. I don't know. It just seems like the yeah. I don't know, man. I don't think it's another country, because that would it makes no sense for them to have it and not be already using it. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think it just points to the fact that we're too we're too involved with worldly things that we don't even know how to. People argue about putting a mask on when putting a mask on has been around for more than 100 years. I mean, shit, people were doing it in the first. They were doing the during the Spanish the Spanish flu during the 1900s. They were wearing masks already. I don't know why something like that has become so political. So something like this, it should be on everybody's radar. It should be something like in the 60s where where everybody was sitting down watching the lunar landing. Like it was, and it is one of the biggest events in human history. The first time a human has left and landed on another planet or another surface that is not the world. We should have. I mean, obviously, humans haven't been to Mars yet, but
Uh,
this
it's
is like the
coming.
best footage we have. Yeah, it's coming. It is coming, and I think it should already been happening. But we're too convinced. We're too worried about, waging wars and wasting billions of dollars and other stupid stuff when we're not really advancing our civilization. But rather, we're just people are just so they're so enamored by what's going on their little device, and so
Honestly, dude, I would not be surprised. I mean, I'd be surprised, but I wouldn't be like, if humans finally get to travel to Mars, which people are saying what it's like 5-10 years away,
mhm.
and they get there and they see some kind of civilization, like whatever, like maybe something that used to live there, that's gonna change like the way you have to see everything if you think about it.
Yeah, yeah. I think I really think so because maybe it'd be a conversation for another day, but I think seeing another living thing that is not human, I think that's a conversation that we gotta have eventually. And I'm not saying with you or anything. I think as a human race, we gotta like how are we gonna handle other beings? And I'm not talking about just aliens. I'm talking about AI. I'm talking about androids because that's coming. That. I mean, AI is already here. You know we have assistants all over the house. We talk to it. We tell it to do things and tell us to do things. So we're slowly giving away a lot of our, and not intelligence or the need to know to other things. Like for example, how far away are we that we have a intelligent moving being inside this house that's not just a voice. It's like the butler, is a robot, or because that's coming. And because how will we handle the rights of these androids? Like say, I don't know if you've seen the movie Ex Machina, where this guy is taken away to go write some like the program of an android that this other scientist is creating.
Yeah, I saw it.
Eventually, you saying that one?
Hmm.
So it's and I think the idea of androids is something we should really be ready for because it'll be here before we know it.
Yeah, but think
And
about it, that we treat people of different races
yeah, exactly,
horrible. You think it's gonna be any different if it's a robot or whatever you're gonna call it, android? Yeah,
exactly.
it's just how we are. We're not we're and honestly, dude, I think I mean this sounds dumb, but uh if people are like, well, aliens are coming here, aliens are coming here. I'm like, I think aliens are coming here to prevent us from going out there,
Probably
keeping
that's a
all
good
this
point.
trash on the planet because they don't want us to bring it out into the universe. Now, if anything, that's the case, the real case. And then you can't say it's not true. Just go and see what's going on in the world, man. It's horrible. We treat our own people and like shit, like
Yeah.
humans. Just because what they're a little darker than me, or their eyes look different, we treat them bad. I mean,
Mhm.
just this whole pandemic for the whole coronavirus. You see, like I think I was reading that the Asian hate crimes have gone up
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
300%, dude. And I'm just like, these people that have been living here their whole lives have nothing to do with what's going on in China. And shitty people are attacking them because they look like people over there. And I'm like,
Yeah.
exactly. If aliens have been here, the reason they've been here is to keep us here.
Yeah. Lock us up.
Honestly, dude, yeah, lock
Yep.
them up, let them kill each other, and then move on to something else. Cause it's just bad, man. It's sad because especially now I have a daughter, and then
Hmm.
she's a redhead, and I worry
Hmm.
about well she gonna get bullied or it's just
Hmm.
stuff that you shouldn't have to worry about. But
Yeah.
the 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 world we live in,
Hmm.
it's bad, dude. And honestly, I think that's the real reason why they're visiting us to keep us here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's a double-edged sword, man. Especially
Yeah.
when it comes to this subject, the
Hmm.
alien UFO subject. Like whenever I started working in my office job, and I started just going on YouTube and just type UFO, whatever, and I mean, thousands and thousands of videos pop up, and then you go from one to the other, and you start believing all this craziness. But then at the same time, people can post whatever they believe in, but the good side of it is you could also research people disproving it. Like, okay, why is this thing wrong? Like,
Hmm.
why is this fake or whatever? Which is that helped me out a lot because I went it was to a point where I was believing everything, dude. Believing
Hmm.
like reptilians and we got praying mantis looking aliens
Hmm.
and all this craziness, and then you have people that are like debunking it and they're giving you facts that the person telling you the truth or the quote truth wasn't left out of their video, and they're like, oh, so uh, yeah, it's it. But then there's also places where people don't have. That's what fascinates me. Like out of the 100 things I looked up, let's say 80% of them were proven to be fake. But that 20% where people don't know why or how or what it is what fascinates me. Like
Hmm.
I like that though. But like I said, it's the social media part takes because back in the day before social media, you can tell people whatever you want. There's no way of disproving it. Now you can just go make yourself. You can make a video yourself. I can go make a video if I have facts. I mean, some people make them without facts, but I mean, it's. I mean, like you said, it's a double-edged sword. You can. It's a good and a bad, but I think lately it's just been more bad than anything.
Hmm. I think it's a really good tool. I think people need to see. I think more so than anything, it's a really good tool. But it's it's a tool that's part of a tool chest, and so you don't use one tool for every every job. You use a variety of them. So if you're gonna use Facebook, also go pick up a book. If you're gonna use a book, also maybe use Facebook. You know, there's no like one there's not one source of information in the world. And I think this is the problem when it comes to talking about aliens, conspiracies, or anything. Is that one place does not have everything. It just never will. You know, not one library, not one archive, not one person has all the information because whether you like it or not, people have a way of changing the way they speak. That so that must mean that you need to get your information from a lot of places. So you know, I think going back to the idea of like of aliens, I think that's why Ancient Aliens that show was interesting because it gets people interested in talking about it. But it doesn't stop there. You shouldn't take them as gospel. You shouldn't like, well, this show is the best. You know, they have all these experts, but if you really look, like you have told me before, if you really look at who this person is that just said this thing, go dig deeper into their biography. Go dig deeper in what they have published. Go dig deeper in what they believe. You start to see like, okay, this person's wacky. This person, I don't know what they just said, but what they said in the show was cool. But their other set of beliefs, they're I don't know what the hell they're doing. You know, they're all over the place. So
Hmm.
maybe I shouldn't take their information as really I guess really weight full of weight. Like it's cool, it's good, but you know I need to go look somewhere else too.
Yeah, just do some research. But okay, before we went all over the place,
No,
but
but
it's.
I
I
think
mean,
we
but like I said, dude, the whole social media thing that can be a whole episode about it.
I think it's important to talk about social media when it comes to talking about aliens and UFOs because so much of the information people get from social media and not just not books because there's not really a class if you go to any I'm not too sure they might be now extraterrestrial studies. I don't know if there's a a professor or an accredited academic class in some university that teaches extraterrestrial moments in human history. I don't know if that exists. It might, but I think people should get their information from everywhere. So I really do think that it's important to always at least touch on it, but not really focus on it.
Yeah.
Um, so
Just to
mhm.
finish it up, keep it more fun because we've been pretty. Have do you or your family have had they ever had a like I guess I don't know if you call it an encounter or like they've seen something or heard of story because
Mhm.
my family has a bunch of them and it's all over the place, especially in Mexico. Apparently in
Yeah,
Mexico
yeah.
they see everything, but I don't know if you or your family have had something.
I can think of two. I can think of two right now. The one that I have seen too,
Oh shit, here
and
we go.
I don't even know where the photo's at. But I can tell you this: my brother, he has a photo of a UFO, and I know it is. I'm not making this up. I've seen this thing.
Where's the proof?
Exactly. It's a photo,
I
and I
want
don't know
to
where it's at.
send it
And
to me.
and honestly, I want to get it and like keep it for myself because it's such a clear photo of a UFO, and you can't tell me it's a plane because it is not a plane. It was it was taken in Mexico. It was taken like it's a color photo, and it was probably
Yes.
during the early 2000s or maybe late 90s. But my brother was it's one of those photos where people are standing in front of a faraway object, so it makes the person look as tall as them. So in the background there's a church, so it's like in the foreground, it's in the background. In the foreground is my brother, so like it's one of those things when people are trying to like hold the Eiffel Tower or they put their head on the Eiffel Tower, because they're so far away or whatever. You see a circular object, and the thing is silver. I don't know when's the last time I've seen this. They don't make silver planes anymore. Planes are not silver or shiny metal. But this thing was a circle, and it was so like obvious. And I looked at it, and I'm like it was my brother handed me the photo, like, "Hey, look at UFO." And I'm like, "No, it's not." And he gave me the photo, like, "Oh my god, it is." Like it literally is. I can see the picture in my head like so clearly because it's bright day. There's no clouds in the sky. There's nothing, and it's like in the morning, and you can see it. It was crazy, and I don't know if he still has it. It's a photo. I don't know where he has it, but I'm pretty sure he knows what the photo is because he showed it to me. And I don't think the person that was taking the photo intended that to be because I don't know if that thing was staying still, but the way it was in the sky, it's a circle, like it's a clear circle, and it's big enough for you to see it, but it's also small enough that it's like up in the sky. And I thought it was I don't know, man. If when I was a little kid, I saw that I'm like, wow, that's amazing. But at the same time, there's other things that I can't prove. Or like my cousin told me once that he was out out in the ranch and he was out. I think he was hunting rabbits, and he was standing like he was like in a very deserted area. There's no lights on the ranch in Mexico and this desolate area in Zacatecas. And he told me that he was walking around and out of nowhere, it, he he saw a really bright light. I think approach him, but he said that it felt like it was day. That's how bright it was. It was the night. It was like pitch black. Then out of nowhere, it became day. That's how bright this light was that got him or he saw. It felt like it was the sunlight. It was just like a normal like sunny day, and then it went away. And we've heard or I've seen reports of people seeing this stuff before. It's not the first time that's ever happened. But that's what happened to him. I'm not too sure as he were told a lot of people, but that's the story he told me that he saw a really bright light that made it look like it was daylight. So it can't be some bright plane because we don't have anything that shines like that bright and that makes it look like daylight. Like we don't. I don't think any plane in the world can have a huge spotlight that does that. And that was just a story he told me. So those are the two that I have right now.
Yeah,
But I know.
the
Yep.
picture one, it'd be interesting to see that picture if you ever find it. But
Yeah. Now, if I ever find it, I would definitely scan it, keep it forever because
mhm.
it's like you could see it. You can't tell me it's a plane because a plane doesn't look like that, and there weren't drones flying around that time. It just wasn't. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think pictures are always fascinating. I've seen a few people send me, but I haven't seen anything too compelling. Usually, you can't. It's just a dot or something. It might be like a smudge on the window or something. But yeah, man, if you I don't know, if you ever find that picture, let me know. It'd be interesting to see it.
Yeah.
And
For
but
sure.
yeah, man, like I said, man, a lot of my family members from Mexico have a lot of stories. But it'd be interesting. One day, if I ever, when I don't know, maybe talk to all these people and get their stories, write a book.
No, you should because those are important stories. I think.
Especially just if it's just not even a bug, just record them and just for the family to have, just so you can hear. Because I know my grandpa, and my grandma had a bunch of crazy stories, but I mean I was too young. My grandpa especially, but I was too young whenever he passed away. So I mean, and my grandma just passed away. So I mean,
Hmm.
it's fun, man. It's a fun subject. Even if it's not about UFOs, they have a lot of like they're very spiritual in Mexico, like witches and
Hmm.
ghosts and all this crazy stuff. But
Hmm.
but yeah, it's fun, man. Hopefully, we'll see. But I mean, I appreciate it. I mean, we went a little longer than I thought we were, but I mean,
Hmm.
I don't want to keep you all morning, so we can end it, and then
Yeah, man.
later on we
Yeah,
can do another one or whatever, part two, whatever, or something else. I mean,
yeah. Let me know when this one releases, and let me know
yeah, for
what you
sure,
want
man.
to
I'll
do.
let you know. You can check it out. But
Sounds
yeah,
good.
appreciate it, man. Thank you, and then
All
I'll
right, man.
catch you on the flippity flip.
All right, man. Take it easy.
You too. Thank you.
Yeah, later.
Bye bye.